Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 one versus many battles in anime.
一体いつから強化水月を使っていないと錯覚していた。
Number 20, Utsuro vs Everyone, Gintama. We were as shocked as Gintoki when it was revealed that not only was his former teacher alive, but he was also immortal. As it turns out, Utsuro was also the mastermind behind the universal war being waged, and in order to stop him, Gintoki has to team up with his Yorozuya crew, Umibozu, Kamui, and even the Shinsengumi.
見た通りです。
What follows is an incredible battle where no matter how much everyone throws at him, Utsuro keeps getting back up to take out multiple of them at once. This fierce battle only comes to an end once everyone manages to strike him from all angles at the same time. Number 19, Rimuru vs Kingdom of FALMUTH. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. After returning from one of his many excursions, Rimuru finds that his home and its citizens have been unjustly massacred by the Kingdom of FALMUTH. Willing to do whatever it takes to revive his friends, Rimuru decides that he must become a demon lord. And in order to do that, he needs tens of thousands of souls. As the soldiers of FALMUTH prepare for the next stage of their invasion, Rimuru appears above them and casts one of his most powerful spells yet, Megiddo. What follows is an absolute slaughter, with the entirety of the army wiped out one by one before they even realize it. Number 18, David vs Militech Army, Cyberpunk Edgerunners. When the crew are completely surrounded by Militech forces in the Badlands, David is forced to install the dangerous cyber skeleton, despite warnings from Rebecca, in order for them all to survive. With this new frame equipped, David displays inhuman speed and absolutely devastates the forces with his gravitational attacks. Although these incredible powers allow him to save his friends from imminent doom, it comes at a high cost, as it inches him ever closer to complete cyberpsychosis. Number 17, Hanji vs Wall Titans, Attack on Titan. With the rumbling fast approaching and their aircraft still needing repairs, Hanji decides to pay the ultimate price in order to allow the others to make their escape. The commander of the Survey Corps does the unthinkable, taking on the colossal-sized Titans face to face and even managing to take a few of them down in the process. Unfortunately, it eventually becomes too much for them, but Hanji's heroic sacrifice paves the way for the rest of the Survey Corps to reach Eren at the source of the rumbling. Number 16, Saito vs 70,000 soldiers, the familiar of Zero. The things some people do for love. After finding out that Louise's mission against 70,000 soldiers will almost certainly end in her death, Saito uses a sleeping potion on her and takes her place. Despite his best efforts, he eventually succumbs to the never-ending horde of soldiers, but damn if he didn't look badass doing it. Number 15, BAKI vs 100 Men, BAKI the Grappler. What an introduction for one of anime's greatest fighters. When the show opens, we see a group of delinquents lined up to take on one punk. That punk just so happens to be the 13-year-old Baki Hanma. As expected of the son of the ogre, he annihilates some of the thugs that come his way with ease. The numbers are unfortunately not in his favor, however, as they eventually get the better of him. Still, taking down 37 armed delinquents with your bare fists is an impressive feat. Number 14, AIZEN vs the GOTEI 13 and the VISORED, Bleach.
俺たちがてめえを守って戦ってやる。
With most of the Espada defeated, it's down to the remaining GOTEI 13 and VISORED members to team up to take down the ultimate foe, Sosuke Aizen. Combining their unique abilities, it appears at first that they've finally taken down the traitor when Hitsugaya impales Aizen from behind. Unfortunately, Aizen proves just how incredibly powerful he is when he reveals to them that their brief victory was nothing but an illusion, and proceeds to cut them all down in an instant. Number 13, BARDOCK vs FRIEZA'S army. Dragon Ball Z BARDOCK, the father of Goku. Well, it's pretty clear where Goku gets his combat skills from. After learning of Frieza's plan to annihilate the Saiyan race, BARDOCK steps up in an attempt to stop him. The only thing that's between him and Frieza is a whole load of henchmen. Their attempts are futile as BARDOCK torpedoes through them, trying to bait Frieza out of his ship. He gets his wish, but unfortunately for him, his 1v1 with Frieza doesn't go quite as well as his struggle to reach him. Number 12, MELIODAS vs 10 Commandments, the 7 Deadly Sins. The whole deal of this season was seeing the 7 Deadly Sins take on their polar opposites, the 10 Commandments. But MELIODAS decided to throw all of that out the window and take them on by his lonesome. While MELIODAS is more than enough to take out the 10 Commandments individually, with all their powers combined, they treat him like nothing more than a punching bag. Even when MELIODAS brings out the good old reliable full counter, Estarossa arrives on the scene and prevents it from happening, leading to the Commandments stabbing his hearts one after another.
メリオダスはたった今死んだ。ブリタニアは俺たちのものになった。
Number 11, Urza vs 100 Monsters, Fairy Tail. Deep into the Grand Magic Games, the next event brought forth to the guilds is Pandemonium, where one member must enter an arena and take on any number of monsters that they decide. In one of the biggest flexes in the series, Urza, who is picked to go first, decides that she will take on all 100 monsters by herself. With her requip ability, Urza is able to devastate her enemies by switching between her vast array of weapons and armor. She dominates the event all by herself, taking down every monster and not even leaving a single one left for the opposing guilds, earning Fairy Tail A 10 points in the process. Number 10, Eraserhead vs Villains, My Hero Academia. Good to know that UCHIHA's strictest teacher bites just as much as he barks. While he can come across as something of a sharp-tongued jerk at times, above all else, the hero known as Eraserhead only cares about preparing his students for the long road ahead. When the League of Villains launch a surprise attack, he doesn't hesitate to protect Deku and the rest by diving headfirst into the fray. Given how his quirk can deactivate the powers of all other superhumans around him, he managed to kick a phenomenal amount of ass all by himself. At least until that Nomu shows up. Number 9, Gilgamesh vs Rider's Army, Fate Zero. Heroes of bygone ages, both larger than life, with power that could cripple nations, but only one can come out on top. In spite of their colossal egos, both these servants find themselves finding mutual respect for one another as the Fourth Holy Grail War reaches its conclusion, culminating in a battle between their noble phantasms.
征服をさあ見果ての夢の結末を知るがいい
While Ryder is able to summon numerous warriors to aid him in the mother of all charges, it sadly pales before Gilgamesh's treasure, the sword known as Ea. Watching the boisterous yet endearing Ryder fall at the final hurdle is still a death that gets us every time we see it. Number 8. Asuka vs mass-produced Evas, the end of Evangelion. There's no denying that Asuka's last stand remains as one of the greatest rampages of all time. With everything messed up for humanity, it's not long before the Nerve facility comes under siege, with the mysterious organization even tossing a few Eva units of their own to spice things up. The only thing standing in their way is an extremely annoyed Asuka. While she manages to slay her way through dozens of the mechanical monstrosities, she's ultimately overwhelmed, meeting a very bloody end in the process. It looked like it hurts. Number 7. Luffy vs Fishmen, One Piece.
毛まとむようなたった10人の海賊に何ができるこっちは10万だぞ
Just when you thought that the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates couldn't have grown any stronger during that 2-year training period, we see him pull off something like this. In order to free Fishman Island from a tyrannical insurgents led by the conceited Hody Jones, the Straw Hats find themselves taking on 100,000 fishmen, all of whom are rather eager to tear them apart.
やっちまえ新魚人海賊団
With the odds astronomically stacked against them, Luffy is able to single-handedly cut down the enemy forces without even lifting a finger, all thanks to the power of the Conqueror's Haki. There's nothing quite like watching 50,000 men drop like flies. Number 6. Spike vs the Red Dragon Syndicate, Cowboy Bebop. All future evil organizations, please take note. The last thing you want is to have the galaxy's slickest bounty hunter gunning for you when he's got nothing left to lose.
I'm not going there to die. I'm going to find out if I'm really alive.
After finally reuniting with Julia and subsequently having her die in his arms, Spike pretty much decides to say screw it and takes the battle to Vicious. Armed with nothing more than his trusty gun and a few grenades, the Space Cowboy storms the Red Dragon Syndicate's stronghold and manages to shoot his way through a multitude of its guards, all leading up to the now iconic standoff with his former comrade.
I told you before, Spike. I'm the only one who can kill you and set you free.
Number 5. UVOGIN vs Shadow Beasts and Mafia, Hunter x Hunter. What better introduction to the fascinating band of thieves and murderers known as the Phantom Troop than through their most destructive member?
聞いたぜ
A beast of a man who thrives on chaos, UVOGIN was more than happy to take on the full force of the Mafia, including the animalistic, living weapons known as the Shadow Beasts.
いいね命知らずで好きだぜお前ら
Surprise, surprise, he dispatches them all with ease. Even after being poisoned, torn at, and even getting leeches stuffed into his body, UVOGIN's able to power through it all and leave a graveyard in his wake. Number 4. COCYTUS vs LIZARDMEN, Overlord 2. We all know that Ainzul Gon is the most powerful thing to ever exist in this vast fantasy world, with each of his guardians at least measuring up to his strength to some extent.
フロストオーラ
By those odds, there's nothing they can't decimate with ease. Even so, after spending time with the likes of Zariasu and the rest of the Lizardmen, we were hoping that they would find some way to survive the upcoming battle.
煩わしいピアーシングアイスクル
Sadly, even with their best efforts combined, none of them are a match to COCYTUS, who manages to cut them to shreds with just a few swings.
不意を打ちたいなら静かに行うべきだな
Number 3. Guts vs 100 soldiers. Berserk. Nobody puts Guts in a corner. Surrounded by the Knights of Tudor, Guts has no choice but to fight his way through in order to give Casca time to escape.
Go back to the sheath your master holds. Go back to Griffith.
What follows is an almost majestic symphony of animated carnage as Guts cuts and bludgeons his way through every new enemy that gets in his way. Despite suffering all manner of wounds, the leader of the Hawks Raiders manages to survive the assault, leaving 100 enemy soldiers dead and buried before the dawn breaks. Number 2. Bradley vs Rebels. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. You've got to hand it to the Führer, he's a persistent bastard.
Do they really expect me to make a complete mockery of myself by entering through the back door of my own palace?
While initially thought dead, King Bradley makes a not-so-heroic return to Central just as the rebels are on the cusp of winning. With nothing but a pair of swords and a major chip on his shoulder, the homunculus not only manages to slice his way through the soldiers, but even chases down a tank and makes short work of it. Just goes to show how far a little wrath can go.
Where is he?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Madara Uchiha vs Allied Shinobi. Naruto Shippuden. Since the inception of this sequel series, we had heard no shortage of rumors regarding this legendary member of the Uchiha clan, and yet nothing could have prepared us for when he finally made his entrance. After being brought back from the dead, Madara decides to celebrate his newfound life by utterly destroying the bulk of the Allied Shinobi Alliance. Whether he's using his fists, activating his Susanoo, or even summoning a meteor, Madara easily proved why he's the greatest villain the series has ever known.
2個目はどうする大野木
What's your favorite one versus many fights in anime? Let us know in those comments below. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.